Hello everyone, and welcome to another Mini Sky Tonight. So I had a viewer ask me what's the latest for James Webb Space Telescope, because I know that several of the updates on it have been pushed back over and over again, whether or not it's going to launch. So I wanted to give you folks an update, especially since we've had COVID-19 hit us and some of the deadlines have gotten delayed. So I wanted to talk with you what James Webb is and what some of the instruments are on it, as well as some of the deadlines that are approaching and hopefully a soon launch date. So let's get into it. So why is it called the James Webb Space Telescope? Because most space telescopes are named after scientists, or they're named after particular types of events or Greek and Roman mythological beings. But in this case, it's named after an administrator, James Webb, who was the second administrator of NASA. And the reason being why they named it after him was because he was the one who promoted science very well. Unlike Hubble, who was indeed an astronomer who basically opened up the door for understanding galaxies and the idea of expansion of our universe, he was the one that promoted science through NASA rather than just saying, oh, we just need a bunch of test pilots and we just need these engineer experts. He said, no, we need to get the scientists on board as well, because they're at the forefront of understanding how our universe works, and having them on board will help us better understand our universe and how we can better explore it. So he was the best promoter of science. So with this new telescope, they named it after him because he was a promoter of science. So what is the mission? What's the whole point of James Webb? Why build another space telescope when Hubble has done a lot of different things? It's an amazing telescope. Why not just update it and so on? Well, as you can see from this visual, Hubble only covered a small area. It covered visual and into the infrared and into ultraviolet. And the Spitzer Space Telescope, which is another space telescope, covered in the low infrared area. James Webb is going to cover in between. So it's going to cover some into the visual, but mostly into the mid-infrared area, an area that is not very well photographed. And the reason being is because infrared light, as I mentioned in my E&M spectrum video, and in fact, I'll leave a link in the description below for that video, talks about why we use infrared, because we're filled with all this gas and dust in our galaxy, and it's sometimes hard to see different things, but infrared light, things that are coming from a heat source, go straight through all the dark, cold clouds. And James Webb is able to see these different things, such as hidden regions of the universe, early galaxies, potential planets that are forming, and much, much more that are hidden behind the dark, cold clouds of our galaxy. So let's talk about the equipment on us on the telescope. Unlike Hubble, which was this one large single mirror, James Webb is now introducing something that is called multi-mirror telescope. Basically, it's having all these hexagonal mirrors that are connected together, and the individual mirrors that are hexagon can be adjusted accordingly as needed. And the great thing about having such a large telescope is because it's able to visualize a wider field. And compared to Hubble, which is roughly about the size of a school bus, this is about the size of a soccer field. So this is a big telescope, so it's much bigger, and having all these different components makes it easier to be able to observe the universe. Because with newer developments in technology, instead of, as one scientist said, instead of basically revamping the old Ford truck, why not just buy another one that has all the latest bells and whistles? So that's what they did. Instead of basically trying to put new equipment onto old equipment that's been in space, they thought it better just to build a brand new telescope with some of the latest technology in it, including the optical telescope, which is the primary mirror, secondary mirror, and the backplane that you can see. It's that beautiful gold thing that you can see right there. And the secondary mirror is that little black thing that's held by the white arms coming off of it, and so on. It also comes with a sun shield. That's something that Hubble didn't have. The sun shield that kind of looks like that weird silver thing basically allows you to have a cold side and a hot side. So that way you can observe into the universe while protecting against the sun, because in order to be able to image in infrared, you have to have the area very, very cold because you're wanting to receive heat sources from space. You don't want getting heat sources from your telescope to mask the heat source that you're trying to get from space. You don't want a false reading. So basically having this heat shield, they're able to rotate the heat shield in such a way that it can block out the sun and keep the instruments cold. Also, it has all these integrated science instrument modules, which include all the infrared, the spectrograph, and many, many more instruments that allow it to be able to view. But one of the unique features that they implemented now, that because of development and technology, is basically this kind of origami fit. As you can see right here in this image to the right, basically with this origami fit, using origami as an inspiration, they're able to fold up the rocket in such a way that it's easy to deploy in space as well as to get into space. So even though this is relatively huge, they're able to compact it into such a tight little area, which is really unique. And then when it does get out into space, they're able to deploy it. And these are just some of the programs that they're hoping to be able to implement to do research on to replace Hubble and Spitzer over time. Oh, I'll let you guys take a look at that really quick. So they're going to talk about galaxies, they're going to do a lot of chemical evolution, they're going to do a lot of formation of planets, and so much, much more. They're going to do a lot of research programs that is developed around this particular space telescope. So some famous early targets that they're hoping to shoot for is basically deep fields, kind of like the Hubble Deep Space Field, and look at some of the goods, quote unquote. It's nicknamed for the different astronomers that discovered this area, that basically look into these deep areas where there's a ton of galaxies. And some of the galaxies like NGC 6240, the reason being why they're interested in that is, as you can see in this image over here to the right, it has a unique structure that they're hoping to find out what's going on. It's a part of galactic evolution because some of the galaxies are doing different unique things, especially if they collide with one another. They're also going to look at different stars, a few exoplanets that may potentially have the conditions for life. So that's a good thing, like TRAPPIST-1b and so on. And of course, looking at even our own solar system and looking at all the unique features of our solar system. So now for the COVID update, because I know that a lot of plans across the United States have been put on hold due to COVID right now. And so they're working continuously, but they've had to reduce staff and efficiency to keep people safe. Currently, the spacecraft is at Northrop Grumman, and it's monitored by the Space Telescope Science Institute. And to keep in with the regulations and everything, and trying to keep people safe, they basically had to reduce staff that are working on it. So it requires a little more time to complete some of the necessary tests. Because right now the telescope itself is built. Right now they're just having to do tests before they launch it into space. Because the last thing you want is to send up a several $million-dollar telescope into space and then have something fail because you didn't test for it. So they're just doing every type of test possible to make sure everything works great. Also, people are not required to work on the flight hardware, and they're having to work remotely. And so that's causing a little bit of issues, especially with technology. And let's face it, we all know that technology is sometimes fickle and things go awry. So things have kind of been screeching a little bit to a halt, but we're slowly trying to make progress. So here are some of the remaining tests that they're trying to do. As you can see, the telescope itself is built. So several pages of different types of steps that they have to do is completely done. Now they're just doing the tests. So the green check mark that you see right there is completed activities, things that they have done. So the next step is that they're going to do all these different tests to basically make sure everything is working and that they have all the instruments ready to go, and also to test for any extreme circumstances, like what if you experience this, can the instruments survive? Hence why there is the tests that are in blue are the first ones that they have ever done. These are kind of like the first tests, like the shipping preps, like they've never really had to ship a telescope across the United States. So it's kind of unique just to have to ship something. So they're having to do that for the first time, as well as the acoustic and vibration test. That'll be a new test that they haven't never done before. And they're hoping to learn a lot more for other spacecraft that they hope to send out. So all in all of that mess, they were hoping to launch early sometime this year. That didn't happen because of COVID. So everything with risk assessment to evaluate the feasibility and everything, they had to go with initially March 2021, but now they've pushed it back to October of 2021. So that's something to kind of look forward to a year from now. We're all hoping to get through all of this pandemic successfully and to work efficiently. And this is something that we can look forward to. Hopefully in the new year, come Halloween next year, everything gets back to normal, not only for us, but we get to see a launch. And I think that will be really cool. So this is kind of an update of what's going on with James Webb. And hopefully we can see some more action coming along the turnpike, as well as maybe get some more updates along the way. If you have any questions, leave a comment down in the description below. If you have any suggestions on a topic, leave it down in the comments as well. Also, if you're looking for some fun activities for your kids, futurereadysa.org is an amazing website that allows your kids to do these fun activities while learning. So give that a look through. I'll leave a link in the description below as well. So until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, and as always, never stop learning.